Hello, everybody. Just gonna wait 1 second for the streams to update and then we can start. Sounds great. Alrighty. Okay, I think we can start with today's AMA. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our first launch of dlcBTC on Arbitrum. My name is Rok, and I'm the product marketer here at DLC Link. We're really excited for the official launch that's coming tomorrow. So today we came here and we want to introduce you to, we want to give you a quick overview of what dlcBTC is. We want to highlight how it differentiates from other forms of wrapped Bitcoin. And then we're going to go into introduce how retail users and merchants can engage with it, and then also dive into the benefits for both of these groups. After our discussion, we'll open up for a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you're watching on YouTube, please write them down in the comments, and we'll make sure that to answer each and one of them by the end. And for those of you who are watching on X, if you would like to comment, please visit our YouTube channel at DLC-Link, and you can find the live stream there, and you can comment away, and that's it. So joining us today, we have a few guests coming to the stage. We have Aki here. He's the co-founder and CEO, and he's going to shed some light on the inception and vision of dlcBTC. Aki, hey, how are you doing?
Hey, thanks for doing this. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is our first AMA on StreamYard or through a streaming platform. So we're really excited. Hope to get some interesting comments and questions from you. And then we would like to do this every month going forward. Now that we are launching our first product and you will be able to access it soon and use dlcBTC, there will be more and more questions. So this will be more of a regular occurrence. So for those who are able to make it live, thank you so much and bring your questions. If you can't make it live, you could still ask your questions on Twitter or in our Discord group also, which you can join from the bottom of our website. So without further ado, would love to talk through it. And thanks for bringing your questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Aki. Thank you so much. We also have Jesse joining the stream. He's our CDO. He's the brains behind the tech. And we're going to dive into some technicalities that set dlcBTC apart from other products. Hey, Jesse.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I'm excited. Really looking forward to it.
Great. And last but not least, we have Peter, our partnership lead. His knowledge on DeFi, finance, crypto regulation. He has a lot of things around under the hood, so be sure to give him some questions as well. Plus, I want to give a huge shout out to the entire team behind the scenes for making this launch possible. So Aki, I think we should start with you. Could you introduce us to dlcBTC? Tell us what it is and what it's built on and what makes it stand out from other forms of wrapped Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll even preface it to say there's a lot of building on Bitcoin right now. There are over 50 Bitcoin L2s. Last time I checked, there are over 20,000 tokens in all of crypto. So why is dlcBTC different? And just to get right into it, the difference is that unlike any other form of wrapped Bitcoin, dlcBTC is minted from self-custody. So let me kind of take a step back. If you have Bitcoin, either by buying it, holding it, or mining it, as you grow, especially with the halving, as the generation, as the years go on and you're building generational wealth, you might want to earn a yield on that Bitcoin. You can always hold it in cold storage or hold it somewhere, but then you're not earning any investment yield. And so there's been an explosion of ways to do that. But Bitcoin L1 doesn't have smart contracts, of course. So the only way to do that historically has been by wrapping or bridging. Wrapping refers to taking the Bitcoin, sending it to a custodian, like for WBTC, it's BitGo, or bridging involves sending the Bitcoin to a bridge, like Threshold or a lot of the other protocols out there. And then you get another token that you can use to invest and earn a yield. But when you send the Bitcoin to somebody else, not your key is not your Bitcoin. And that's where dlcBTC is different. To mint dlcBTC, our customers, which we call dlcBTC merchants, which are institutions, they wrap the Bitcoin with themselves. So they don't send the Bitcoin anywhere else. They maintain it in self-custody, and they lock it by using this feature that already exists in Bitcoin called a DLC, a discrete log contract. And basically, and the technical explanation is they send it to a multi-sig that can only pay out to them. And that's how the DLC works. But basically, they lock it in place to mint dlcBTC, which they then put on, lending or liquidity pools like Curve and centralized exchanges like Coinbase, etc. Just like WBTC from that point on. So if you're an institution, you can become a dlcBTC merchant. If you're a retail user, you will be able to swap your WBTC for dlcBTC on a Curve pool that we're launching on Arbitrum very soon. So that's where you'll be able to basically use that more liquid Bitcoin without introducing BitGo as a counterparty in that equation.
This is great. Thank you, Aki. What would you say are the benefits of using dlcBTC, for example, for merchants or for retail, right? They both have their different use cases.
Yes. So merchants are institutions that are resellers of the dlcBTC. They're the ones who are wrapping it. You can think of, to use an analogy, USDC. We all use USDC, I think everybody at this point, but you have these banks like Silicon Valley Bank that put up the dollars to mint the USDC that backs that token. So for us, the merchants are those. So the merchants are institutions that lock Bitcoin that they own or that they hold to mint the dlcBTC. And they kind of put it out there and they provide the liquidity into where retail will want to access it. So for retail users, you have the ability to get dlcBTC either by buying it or by swapping for it. If you're a retail user and you hold dlcBTC, you're basically looking at that merchant network backing the strength of your dlcBTC with Bitcoin deposits. And there's some unique features about the DLC around proof of reserves that maybe Jesse can get into more that give you an additional security. So again, you're not sending it to one custodian, which could fail. You're not sending it to a bridge. You're having these merchants basically mint, self-wrap and mint to provide the backing for the dlcBTC that you then hold and can use in DeFi protocols.
That's great. Is that like a verifiable process? You can take a look at what the merchants, how much they are minting, and you can check that they have enough backing of Bitcoin on chain?
Yes. So this is where DLCs are really strong because we're not an L2, we're not a chain, we're not introducing anything that is not already present in Bitcoin. DLCs were added to Bitcoin 2 years ago with Taproot. They use Schnorr signatures. And they're, I guess, what you could call pseudo-programmable. They are not a smart contract, but they do have some programmability. And so we are using that mechanism to enable this very unique self-wrapping system. So basically that keeps the Bitcoin on L1. So you're minting out of L1, not introducing a chain or intermediary, and you're wrapping directly to Arbitrum. And then, of course, you can also wrap to other chains, but Arbitrum is the first chain that we are supporting.
Very nice. Yeah, maybe if there's any questions, let me just check if there's somebody have any questions up till now. I don't think so. Maybe we can also go, maybe we can bring Jesse up, and Jesse, maybe you can talk about a little bit about what are like some cool technical features that you were able to achieve with dlcBTC, and like how do they work? What do you think are some key features that you guys have put into the technology over the past year?
Yeah, quite a lot really. I think we've there's a lot of things coming together in Bitcoin right now. So we are heavily leveraging Taproot functionality, which is really cool, and the Schnorr cryptography system in particular. So to give a little bit of like explanation of how, for example, the self-custodial transaction looks on Bitcoin, because I think this is very cool. We're using at a high level where it's a taproot transaction. So the user is sending or locking some of their funds into, pardon me, into a taproot multi-sig, where the two participants in this 2 of 2 multi-sig, one of them is that same user, and the other is a threshold key, and Aki was mentioning this as well, is a threshold key of the attester network, of all the attesters in our network. So that's something like a 5 of 7 key among our third-party node runners. And these, the folks running on it, currently this is not something anybody in the public can run. You cannot currently run your own DLC link attester, but these are well-established kind of enterprise-grade DeFi node operators. And each one is running one node. And if there's a threshold of those willing to sign a transaction, then they're going to use the great functionality of Schnorr keys, in that those can be aggregated in a very clean way. And so it's easy to put together like a 5 of 7 key. So in the end, there's actually only 2 keys signing this multi-sig, the user and this set of attesters. But to get, for this set of attesters to get their signing key to sign the transaction, they need internally to come to a threshold consensus. So it's pretty slick. There's kind of like layers of consensus to do this stuff. And then as is in the DLC specification, the outcomes are predetermined and agreed upon ahead of time. And so this is really where, although we have many levels of security baked into the system, I think one of the coolest and most important ones is just the nature of a DLC, which is that the outcomes are predetermined and pre-signed. So if upon locking a user's collateral, the only outcome that user signs is that the collateral will one day be returned back to them, and then they hand that that pre-signed transaction to the attester network, which each of those nodes that I talked about before holds a copy of that. Then that's the only outcome that exists in the total space of possible outcomes for this Bitcoin transaction.
So in simple terms, if somebody logs their Bitcoin on chain, they get some dlcBTC for it, and let's say that something would be to happen to that transaction. If somebody wanted to hack it, they couldn't, because the only way that Bitcoin is able to go is basically back to their own wallet, right? There's no way for the Bitcoin to be deferred to any other account or something.
That's right. That's what makes our decentralized Bitcoin bridge different from any of the others you see out there. Even the non-custodial decentralized Bitcoin bridges out there are the ones that say they're non-custodial. Well, there's not a user holding the key to that bridge, sure, but the bridge itself, as a decentralized entity, holds the money, holds the value, the Bitcoin, and is able to spend it as it sees fit. In our bridge, that's not true. That's why we call our nodes attesters, because they're simply going to attest to what the outcome of this transaction should be, but they do not actually have the ability to control the money or send it anywhere. Simply, when the attesters all agree that, in this case, some wrapped Bitcoin token on an EVM chain like Arbitrum gets burned and the user's closing their vault, then the attesters are able to sign that outcome. The only outcome that they have available to them is that the user gets their collateral back. And yes, as you said, Rock, like even if you were to hack our bridge, all that the hacker would be able to do is send Bitcoin back to the original owner of the Bitcoin. So that's a very nice security measure. If you were to hack some of these other decentralized Bitcoin bridges, which of course would be a difficult feat, but not impossible, you could really cause some damage. You could move the Bitcoin to yourself. So by removing that incentive mechanism, we've made it much harder and even removed the incentive for hackers to try to attack the bridge.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jesse. Yeah, great. Should we let's have a question for Peter. Let's bring Peter up on the stage. Peter, we are planning our like a gradual rollout of dlcBTC to other chains, right? We're being more cautious with the approach in increasing our TVL. Could you maybe speak a little bit on that? Like, why do you think we are trying to do that, and what's the reason?
Yeah, I
behind
think
it?
it's just a good follow-up for what Jesse just not talked about. We have so much new technology and we worked on it for so hard that we want to roll it out, and we know how much rug pulls happen in DeFi over billions every year for the last couple of years. And we know that Bitcoiners like to hold on to their Bitcoin for the longest period of time because they don't want to lose the principle of it. And with what we are doing, you don't never lose your principle. And that's why we are just gradually rolling out in the wild with very special, with partnership with Ember Group in the beginning, and then show that who've been very helpful in so many different ways, that we want to make sure it works properly, legitimately, show it to the rest of the community that it works, build trust upon it, which is very important. We're not here for it to shot to the moon in the next 2 months. We're here for the long run, and we want to make sure works for everybody, especially talking with institutions. We're going to make sure that works, is secure in a lot of ways. We were talking to insurance companies to make sure our software is secure. If something does go wrong, it's covered. So, and we want to get feedback from our partners of what we can improve and how we can work on. We're trying to get the speed faster. I think what BitGo and WBTC start out, it's an amazing possibility for Bitcoin to get into the DeFi, and we want to improve on it. I think they did a great job to spreading the word, the merchants and everything. We just want to get it better. We want to have it self-rep, self-custody, and automate it with a cheaper fees that are able to accessible to everybody else down the line.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe another question for Aki. Aki, as a retail user, how can I obtain dlcBTC if I cannot mint it myself? What's the process?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a common question. When people launch Bitcoin L2 chains, retail, of course, those are new blockchains. Usually they're, of course, side chains because Bitcoin L1 doesn't have smart contracts. So, retail is very used to, being able to send the Bitcoin, or even with threshold networks, it's a anonymous, permissionless, retail-oriented platform. This is more dlcBTC, the security model and the merchant model behind it is more similar to USDC. So, we as retail users cannot send USD to Circle to mint USDC. We also cannot send Bitcoin to BitGo to mint WBTC. These systems don't work like that because because retail can lose their private keys. Retail, there are a number of scenarios that can happen that reduce the trust or that increase the risk of the system to implement it in that way. So for dlcBTC, we have also chosen a more institutional model. But what that means is that there are these institutions with sizable guardrails and sizable disaster recovery mechanisms backing it. And so to answer the question, retail will be able to, in the beginning, swap in a curve pool. We're launching a WBTC dlcBTC pool. So you can swap your WBTC, which is custodied by BitGo, to dlcBTC, which is custodied by a number of merchants, a number of diversified merchants. For example, Amber Group is the first merchant in the system. And of course, as we grow, there will be a very diverse set of merchants. But basically, in the beginning, you will be able to swap in Curve for the WBTC to dlcBTC. We are also going to launch some additional Curve pools. We're going to launch on, of course, Uniswap v3 and some additional DEXs. And then we are already in discussions with the top, most reputable kind of tier one centralized exchanges, so that you will be able to, over the coming months, you should be able to swap dlcBTC, Bitcoin or USDC or USDT or other tokens for dlcBTC at like a Coinbase or Binance or Kraken.
That sounds awesome. So yeah, in the following months, we're gonna have a lot of activity, right? So that people will be able to use their dlcBTC. That we're gonna have merchants coming in with the whole ecosystem. We're trying to build it up, and we're gonna grow it. So if for people who would like to follow us, please do so. You can go on Twitter, dlc_link. Follow us there. You'll get some info, or just check our website at dlc.link. We're gonna keep updating that as we get new information.
I can just to add to that, and
Please.
just to kind of net down, because of course the question is, what are the trust assumptions? dlcBTC is a synthetic asset. Using any synthetic asset, of course, is going to add more risk. So users have to determine, is the risk greater than the reward? We believe the reward is much greater in this case, because you have the ability to earn single digit or double digit APY, depending on how you use the dlcBTC. And we're launching a page where you can see all of those DeFi protocols and those strategies. But just on the risk side, to evaluate the risk, you should know that there are two main trust assumptions in the system. Luckily, Bitcoin L1, we're not a chain, so we are not adding a bridge. So the trust assumption is, if you use Bitcoin L1, you maintain the Bitcoin L1 security, but you do rely on the merchants. So just like USDC, if you want to redeem USDC for USD, you have to go back to SVB, Wells Fargo, these banks. And of course, we saw if SVB, something happens to one of these banks, the currency, the USDC can depeg, which is a normal kind of functioning of this type of market. In the same way, if a dlcBTC merchant were to go bankrupt or insolvent, the Bitcoin is not lost, because the Bitcoin is locked and cannot be stolen or taken. It cannot be rehypothecated or used, or commingled or used in any way. So it's provably there. But if the merchant cannot process redemptions for some amount of time, the concerns around that might depeg dlcBTC. So that's the main trust assumption. The other trust assumption centers around the attesters. We're launching with 7 attesters, including Hashkey, Cloud, OKX, and so forth, PTP and staking and so forth. But the attesters cannot steal Bitcoin. But if the attesters collude, they can censor the unlock for the merchant. So they can hold the merchant hostage. We have a blog post on this called "The Theoretical Risks of dlcBTC" on our blog, which I recommend everybody check out. But basically, we are also decentralizing the attester network. And to help with that, we are going to be launching a token in Q3, the DLC token, which will be kind of typical Oracle network token like Chainlinks, that will enable the node operators to be decentralized and scored on their reputation alone. So those are the attesters and the merchants are the true trust assumptions. But we believe this is a lot safer than some new bridge or any kind of bridge, because we don't think that bridges will scale. Basically, there's over $1 trillion of Bitcoin. When you bridge, you're entrusting the validators and the security practices of that chain or that system or that verifier or warden or guardian, or there's so many names for bridges, but you're entrusting that other system. And that security is going to be much less than the security of Bitcoin L1. So what we're offering is a system designed on taking Bitcoin L1 liquidity and directly pushing it or teleporting it into Arbitrum and these other chains. So we've got some good blog posts and video on this.
Thank you, Aki. Yeah, everybody go on our website. We have a lot of content coming out. And then names, I'll just put his question here on the screen. I hope that answered your questions. Names was asking, did you read it,
I can
Aki?
speak to this. Yeah, this is one of the most common questions. Thank you, Names, for asking it. So with the merchant system, and by the way, our dlcBTC merchant system is very, very similar, or we can say almost exactly the same as the WBTC merchant system that has been powering WBTC for over 4 years now. But basically, there's a set of institutions like Amber Group that put the Bitcoin in and they resell the dlcBTC. So if you are using dlcBTC, you have acquired it by swapping on Curve, let's say. You put it into a DeFi protocol, you're earning yield, but now you want to take it out and you want to go back to Bitcoin. you would basically go back to the merchant so Amber Group was the one that minted and put the dlcBTC there. You can go back to Amber Group to redeem it, or you can also swap for it. So you can swap dlcBTC to WBTC or to Bitcoin or to another token through the pools that we are launching on the DEXs and SEXs.
Very good. Thank you so much. Yeah. Any other questions? If anybody has them, please write them down. And Jesse, Peter, if you would like to add something, maybe we haven't mentioned something which would be important for the viewers to know about the product.
Yeah, I want to make a quick comment on that. That anytime you do add an asset, there is you're adopting the security model of wherever that new asset is, right? So we're starting on Bitcoin, what we and many consider to be the most secure currency for decentralized currencies, and you're bringing it over to ETH or some EVM chain, which is also very well respected as far as smart chains go, right? There's a lot to do there. There's been a ton of development, a ton of good work. The most important part that we've developed so far is it's the best, most secure way out there to do that, to bring the Bitcoin asset, the best store of value that the world has ever seen, certainly the best cryptocurrency, and use it in the most active place. And as Aki often said when we were launching this startup, and as we've heard many people say in the community, not your keys, not your crypto. And this bridge actually, we put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, because you are not sending your collateral or even the merchants, whoever you're trusting to use our bridge. That collateral is never sent even to a decentralized non-custodial bridge. It's not sent anywhere. It's self-locked. It's self-wrapped. It's still your keys. It's still your keys. It's still your crypto. And as Peter was saying, that's the key here, is that Bitcoin is the asset nobody wants to give up. Nobody wants to risk. And so with the use of our bridge, you really don't have to risk this most critical of DeFi assets. You're never sending it even to a non-custodial bridge. You're simply self-wrapping it.
Thank you so much, Jesse. That was very good.
And Raka, just let me expand on it, because what also with WBTC, which is doing great on Ethereum and EVM, we are trying to expand native BTC and other chains as well going forward. So we are talking, we're launching an Arbitrum just for the gas fees. That's where we start out. We'll make sure that the merchants are using it and not get eaten up by the gas when things are going on. We're going to looking at other chains like Solana, Starknet, and the rest of them out there that at the moment WBTC doesn't have. So we are looking at across the crypto landscape where we can expand and bring native Bitcoin on there going forward.
Very nice. Awesome. That sounds great. Okay. Any other questions? Let's check out the chats. No questions from the people. Any finishing words, or we can say goodbye?
Yeah, I can give a little context to the next few weeks for us because
Awesome.
the everything is kind of happening live, and I appreciate the engineering team. They've been very heads down getting our smart contracts launched. We're completing our second security audit, so we will publish those reports as soon as they are available. The audits were done by MetaTrust, which is a highly reputable security audit firm out of Singapore. We are launching this infrastructure. This is the first time that DLCs have been used in this way. It's the first time that DLCs have been scaled, actually, which is quite exciting for the DLC community as well. We're announcing a press release tomorrow, so that will go out for kind of broader distribution. But just to give you kind of a sense, Amber Group is the first liquidity provider for this system. So they are going to be self-wrapping Bitcoin on their balance sheets to fund the initial pools. So that Curve pool should be live at some point and have some liquidity in there. There might be some, of course, slippage because it's new. So it's we're just going to, I would characterize it more as a soft launch. And then there are some DeFi protocols, lend borrow protocols, options are another good way to earn yield. There's some stable coins that are launching. There's one called Lambda BTC USD that we will soon announce a partnership with. But you will be able to use it in a couple ways to earn a yield. And then a big focus of ours through working with Arbitrum themselves and our partners is to just get dlcBTC out and to build liquidity so that the slippage drops. And then, of course, there are also going to be some incentives to incentivize yield. So you will hear more about those incentive programs later over the next 1-2 months.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. For everybody watching, please subscribe to us on X and follow our website for more updates. We have a lot of things coming up in the following months. And it was great to have you guys. Thank you so much. And have a nice day. Enjoy.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.